Imagine if Netflix actually buys Warner Bros. And gives Zack Snyder the power to rebuild his universe again. The internet would explode. But here's the real question: would Henry Cavill return as Superman? Because last time he believed. He trusted DC again, left other projects behind, and stepped back into the cape, only to be replaced just months later. And now, Zack Snyder has suddenly become active on Instagram. But here's the twist: he doesn't follow any of his old Justice League stars. Not Henry Cavill, not Ben Affleck, not Gal Gadot. The only one he follows is Jason Momoa. Maybe it means nothing. But if Snyder truly returns, will any of the old dceu cast, or mainly Henry Cavill, risk it all again for Superman? When Man of Steel released in 2013, Henry Cavill became the face of the DCEU's Superman. Early development of a sequel, Man of Steel 2, was in motion, with Cavill set to reprise the role. But by May 2020, the sequel was officially abandoned. According to one breakdown, the main reason why Cavill never had a chance to reprise the role of Superman had to do with the Discovery and Warner Media merger. That's point one. Cavill signed on, believed his future as Superman was secure, and then the studio changed course. In the 2017 Justice League theatrical cut, Cavill's mustache became a notorious CGI affair. Because he was contractually obligated to keep it for another film, Mission: Impossible Fallout, the studio attempted to digitally remove it with sloppy results. Screen Rant noted the rushed schedule led to subpar VFX. For a leading superhero actor, such public mismanagement of his appearance plus brand reputation is more than cosmetic, it strikes trust. Cavill trusted the studio to handle his image, and they dropped the ball. After the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, many cast and fans believed the Snyder-era DCEU would continue. Cavill even publicly supported Snyder and praised the version. Yet soon enough, the studio announced a reboot under a new leadership team. Cavill's Superman future was effectively shelved. Hope was offered, then taken away. For someone who invested trust and time, that's deeply damaging. When Black Adam released in 2022, Cavill had a cameo as Superman, a return many interpreted as the beginning of his next chapter. He even stepped away from other projects, believing that the Superman role was his again. But mere months later, the studio publicly confirmed he wouldn't be returning after all. Once more, Cavill was promised continuity, then left overboard when leadership changed. By rights, Henry could say no to any new Superman proposition. He's been betrayed by promises before. His brand image took hits from studio mismanagement. He's not guaranteed front-seat creative control. But this time might be different. If the control shifts to Netflix, that could change the equation. If Netflix offers a scenario where Cavill gets a solo Superman film, plus a continuation of the Snyderverse, or at least Snyder-style creative freedom, and Netflix offers stability and trust, then perhaps Henry would say yes, but only under those conditions. Otherwise, the logical, ethical choice would be to walk away. After the entire Black Adam fiasco, Cavill didn't go silent. He redirected. Within months, he signed a major deal with Amazon Prime to produce and star in Warhammer 40,000, a project based on his lifelong passion for the game. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, December 2023, Cavill said, "It's not about chasing franchises anymore. It's about creating something I can stand behind. Something consistent." That line says everything. He's done being a hired face in someone else's broken system. He wants ownership. He wants creative control, the very thing Snyder fought for his whole DC career. Cavill's Warhammer deal isn't just another role, it's his redemption arc. He's producing, acting, and overseeing lore accuracy. And in a way, that's the kind of independence he always wanted at DC but never got. So now the question is, what would make Henry leave that comfort zone again to become Superman? Netflix isn't like Warner Bros. When Snyder joined them, he called it the most freedom I've ever had in my career. In a 2024 Empire magazine interview, Snyder confirmed, "They trust me completely. There's no committee notes, no tone meetings, no interference." If that kind of creative control extended to a potential Netflix-owned DC universe, it would be a dream situation for both Snyder and Cavill. But there's another layer: money and marketing. According to Bloomberg's 2025 business forecast, Netflix's annual content budget exceeds $17 billion, higher than Warner Bros. Discovery's entire studio expenditure. That means Netflix can afford to treat Superman the way Marvel treats Iron Man as a premium franchise. If Snyder comes back under that system, Cavill wouldn't be gambling with chaos again. He'd be working with the same director who gave him his best version, but this time backed by a studio that actually trusts creators. If we look at Cavill's past interviews and choices, we can predict his must-haves before saying yes. 1. A solo Superman film promise, not another cameo. No shared spotlight. A proper Man of Steel 2 or a Man of Tomorrow film centered fully on his Superman. He's earned that closure. 2. Creative continuity with Snyder. Cavill respects Snyder deeply. He's praised him for understanding Superman's humanity. If Snyder helms or oversees the direction, Cavill's trust naturally increases. 3. Contractual security. He'd likely demand a multi-picture deal, something long-term, not one shot, to avoid being replaced midway like before. 4. Public transparency. After how the Black Adam promise collapsed, Cavill would probably insist on public commitment from Netflix or Snyder before filming even begins. No more secret meetings or vague studio talks. If all of this aligns, Cavill might just put the cape on again. Ethically, he should probably walk away. Logically, he might not need to return. He's building his empire elsewhere. But emotionally, Superman is in his DNA. Cavill's entire career, from Man of Steel to Zack Snyder's Justice League, carries that bittersweet, unfinished story. And Cavill himself once said, in a 2018 Men's Health interview, "There's still a lot of Superman left to tell. I'd love to explore the darker edges of his soul." So, if Snyder, the man who originally gave him that chance, comes knocking again, and this time it's Netflix holding the keys instead of WB, then yes, maybe Henry Cavill will say yes again, but not out of trust, out of unfinished destiny. Because this time, the cape isn't just a costume, it's closure. If Netflix actually buys Warner Brothers and gives Snyder full control, this is what's likely to happen. Snyder returns as creative head of an Elseworld-style DC continuity. Netflix positions it as a Snyderverse saga, independent from Gunn's DCU. Henry Cavill agrees only under a firm deal guaranteeing him his solo arc and narrative freedom. But if Snyder isn't involved, if it's just Netflix handling DC like another content line, then Cavill's answer will be no. Because Henry Cavill doesn't just want to play Superman anymore, he wants to be Superman on his own terms. So what do you think? If Netflix actually buys WB and Zack Snyder gets full creative power again, will Henry Cavill risk it all for one final flight?